and currently I am a district instructional specialist. This is actually my last year to be in this role, and next year I'm going full time into consulting and coaching, speaking and writing, and so I'm super excited about that. But my focus is team leadership, and so that's where my wheelhouse is. That's what I love to do, is to work with teams and to help people to work with teams and get everyone moving in the same direction and actually excited about it. So you can connect with me using this QR code. There will be access to the resources from these slides. I don't have the link to the slides directly, but the resources that you're going to want actually aren't part of most of the slides anyway. So I'll tell you about that as we get started. Today, I'm going to jump into it. I'm not going to give you my whole backstory. If you want to read more about me, go to my About Me page on my website. What we're talking about is how to leverage data to strategically move teams forward. And I want to start off by asking you, especially thinking about the roles that you are in right now, imagine either this year or next year, you felt confident in your leadership, that teachers felt valued and empowered. Imagine you could hold people accountable without micromanaging, and also imagine that everyone ends the day with a great sense of purpose and fulfillment. What would it take for those things to be true? You can either pop it in the chat, or you can come off microphone and share what would it take for any one of these things to be true. Let me preface, sometimes when I've asked this question, some people have said it would take margaritas. While that may be true, let's think about what other things we can access in schools that it would take for these things to be true. Any thoughts?
I think sometimes it could be if I could trust that everybody is going to do all of their parts and what they need to do, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to follow up behind people. I I have the expectation that everyone's going to act like me, and that's not true. And
Yep.
sometimes that's hard to move past.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust is a big one for sure. I hear that a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think for us it'd be a lot of changing mindsets, getting people to be more open to change and to accepting things that, are inevitable sometimes.
Yes.
And the micromanaging one that sticks out, 'cause a lot of times we'll have teachers like, wow, we're being micromanaged, when really like as administrators, we don't feel like that's the route we're taking. We're giving them a lot of flexibility, we're giving a lot of options, but since maybe we didn't take an idea they had because it just wasn't feasible to use that idea, other requirements such as state requirements may be impacting our decisions. So sometimes they don't feel like we're listening or like we're really pushing what to do because there's things that are even out of our control. So it's getting
Yeah.
people more open-minded and to see that and understand that.
Right. To kind of consider both perspectives. And I do feel like it's so funny you mentioned that. So in this book, I'm actually giving away some books today at the end of this session. But in my book, I talk about these two different narratives. Like, as teachers, they are saying or seeing one way of things, but as leaders, we are saying and seeing one way of things. And like, how do we bridge that gap so that we can bridge gaps in student learning? But yeah, it's definitely challenging to hold people accountable without swinging so far over into neglect or so far over into micromanagement. Yeah, that's great. So I want to share a story about a time that my family and I write about this in the book too, but my family and I took this Watts National Parks tour like 2 summers ago, and we drove out west. Our goal was to visit 7 different national parks. And one of the parks that we went to was Arches National Park, which I'm sure, Kristen, you probably have heard of it before. Maybe you've been there. No? Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's gorgeous. However, it's like all of these parks, they say enter at your own risk, right? And